Hello and welcome to today's episodes. Episode. We have a really good topic today. We're going to be talking about how to add value as a leader. Before we get started, our community is growing. You guys know that we did a rebrand and a pivot, and so it's kind of like starting all over. But I'm very glad that the momentum is growing because we've been helping leaders, entrepreneurs, executives all over the world, hundreds of them for a very long time. And now just entering into this space to help my fellow brothers and sisters in healthcare. Not only do we teach leadership principles to healthcare leaders to help them become high performers, we also, because we had that knowledge base around healthcare delivery, we help with strategic operational delivery, all the things. We don't even get into that. Anyway, if you are new to my teachings, sometimes I just get on these riffs where I get this information that I want to share with you all. And so when that happens, I write it down. I'm not someone that tries to memorize. I want to make sure I give you the most value since you're spending time with me here. So, without further ado, let's get into today's topic for how to add value as a leader. So, number one, the first thing that you need to understand as a leader is that doing your job is not necessarily adding value to your organization. And some of you are going to question that and you're not going to like what I said. However, I said what I said. No, I'm just kidding. I want you to go back to the last episode that I did when I talked about how we need to learn how to think creatively. We need to think outside of the box and we need to be a little bit more open minded. Just as we have people on our teams that just show up and do the bare minimum, just because you are doing your job does not mean that you're adding value. Value goes beyond that, or value may be different than what you think it is. And that's specifically why I wanted to create this episode, but I need you to be open to the new. And I want to point out this key thing for those of you that are feeling undervalued, underappreciated, like you're giving your all, but like you are getting depleted and not being able to fill your cup up, whether that's from the compensation and recognition from your organization or just it getting the best of you. Burnout is a symptom of many things that are not solely linked to your job. We like to attribute our exhaustion from the hours that we put in at our job, from the demands that are ever growing in healthcare. However, it's not only about that, it's not solely linked to your job. So before you close your ears, I want you to understand that burnout can also result if you're being unproductive. A lot of people call it, especially in the space that I'm in, it's called unproductive productivity. So, number one, you think that you're adding value because you're just doing what you think you should be doing, or you're just doing your job. Or number two, you're doing a lot of all of the things, but because you're doing a lot of all of the things, instead of the things that add the most impact and the most value, you end up being unproductively productive. So let's talk a little bit more about that. When you're doing the wrong things, you're not adding value. You might be keeping things running afloat, right? You might be keeping things at status quo, but you're not adding value. So you need to understand this. I'm going to keep harping on it. I know I keep repeating myself, but this is one thing that people just do not understand. And that goes from the people that think they should be getting promoted in 2 years to whoever. You need to understand what value is in order for your career to move along more successfully while at the same time not producing burnout for you. So, doing your job is the minimum value. And in my world, I say if you're doing your job, what you're doing for your organization, if you run your own practice, your own company, you're just keeping things functional. If you're just doing your job, this is now about how can we think outside of that box that I talked about in the last episode to take it up a notch. And you don't necessarily have to do more, but what you do have to understand is the macro and micro strategic goals and look at how you measurably contribute to these micro and macro strategic goals. Those may be strange terms for some of us in healthcare. So let's think about what are the goals of your organization as a whole, or what are the goals of your CEO versus your goals as a leader. This is telling, right? Because for some of you, when I say, what are your goals as a leader? You don't have goals. The goals that you have are only the goals that you have been told that you need to have. You don't even think that far to have your own goals for you, whatever it is that you're leading. For some of you that are at the top, then it would be, what are the goals for your particular line of practice versus the goals that you have, and how do they blend together? You have to understand these types of environments in order to understand where it is that you can look at your unique skill set and your capabilities in order to add value to your organization and measurably contribute. So again, a lot of times when we're just doing what we should be doing or being unproductively productive, we could be doing all the things, but can we actually measure the things that we do to contribute? Or is the work that we're doing the work that's actually keeping our company functional? And I don't want you to get defensive about this, because we do need to keep our organization functional. But this is for those of you, you're in this environment, you're listening to this because you want to learn how to do things better and easier and faster and more efficiently in all areas of your life, right? So that's number one, is understand that doing your job is not just about, it's the bare minimum. It's the functional part of it. So now what do you do to add value in a measurable way? So then number two, ask yourself this question: are things better because of you? And I want you to look at it again, not just in your department are things better. Are things better in the organization because of you? Could somebody come in and do what you do? Could somebody come in and do what you do and keep things functional? Could somebody come in and do what you do, but because you are creating measurable success and measurable contributions, they can't do what you do because you've created value? There's a difference, okay? And this is not just about how you feel. You might feel that things are better because of you. Um, I want you to think about this more objectively. Objectively, are things better because of you? Do your actions give the team what they need? Do your actions give the organization what they need? And I want you to not just pick this little part of my conversation. I want you to combine it with what I said earlier about understanding that doing your job is just keeping your organization functional. How are you adding value? So if you ask yourself that, and then you think about your actions, and if they're giving what they need, are they giving what they need for things to just be functional? Or are your actions contributing in a way that your organization, your team, your company, whatever it is, can just rock it, can crush it, can go above and beyond, can be exceptional? That's another question. And when you think that you're giving the team what they need, I want you to ask yourself another question or consider another thing. Sometimes your team may not know or may not understand that what you have to give them to be successful versus what they think you should be giving them to be successful is two totally different things. And this is another way where I see leaders expend a lot of unproductive productivity type energy in ways that don't really make an impact. The open door policy thing, to me, BS. To have your door open all day and all night with people coming in, interrupting you, not respecting your time, that's BS. I don't know where that came from. Not saying that I have a, if you want me to do an episode on that, let me know. But also being out and in the trenches all the time when you've been hired to provide value in a different way. Yes, you're going to have to do that sometime, but your team might expect that you do that sometime, all the time, more often than not. But what do they really need you to do? Maybe there are other things as a leader that you could be doing to make things better, to make things more innovative, to make things more efficient, to make it to where the resources that you have are able to be used in a different way in order to not have to be out on the floor or not have to be in the trenches, as you would say. And that's just one example of what I'm talking about. So, especially if you're someone that wants to be liked, or especially if you haven't been trained to be a great leader, sometimes we fall back, like I've said time and time again, on these clinical skills that don't often translate into what is needed to actually make your team more successful, make your team more valuable, make your organization more valuable. And so you need to think about that. Again, sometimes you have to jump in, but when is it time that you may have to incorporate training or coaching or empowering your team? Or this is a hard one for a lot of leaders, accountability, holding your team accountable, in addition to the things that I just mentioned around maybe being more innovative, creative, resourceful, those type of things that you can be doing because you can see the bigger picture around the team goals and the strategic goals in order to help bring more value or create more value in what it is that you do and what it is that your team does, etc. What else did I write for you? So if they need the things that I'm talking about, then the surface layer is, yes, let me just get in the trenches with them. The surface layer is, let me be their rock so they can come and talk to me about their problems. But some of us haven't been taught, or we don't go deeper into some of the things that I mentioned. Is your team, your organization, your business better because of you? Or is it just functional because of you? So then this is the third thing that I had in my little brainstorm epiphany session. And it was to ask yourself, how does your personal development practice, how is your personal development practice, and do you self reflect? Oftentimes what I find is that people believe that they're doing some introspection and some self-reflection because maybe you're the type of person where the day kind of ruminates in your mind and you go over it again and again and again and think about how it could be done differently and what could have been done better. And that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a deep professional development practice where you are continuously learning and growing and learning how to be a better person so that when you show up as work, you are or show up at work, you're leading from the inside out. So do you self-reflect in a meaningful way in order to add value to yourself, which in turn adds value to your organization? Here's another question you can ask yourself. Do you regularly network with people that can help you learn ways to help you learn and increase the success of your team? This is not going to lunch with your peers or maybe ever so often you meet with an organization. This is a deliberate practice where you are meeting and networking with people that can help you become a better person internally, help you learn ways to be a better leader, help you learn ways to increase the success of your team. Thereby, you integrate these things, learn these things, bring them back to your team, and create more value within your team. To add value means, or to add value is one of the things that is required to add value is to, again, I already talked about the personal development piece, but also learning. And it requires you to become valuable. And valuable is not overworking because you can be replaceable. If somebody can come in and work the same or harder than you or longer than you, maybe they got more energy than you, that means you're already replaceable. So it's not about being able to work hard. It is not a prized possession if you're a leader that has a lack of boundaries. It's about learning how to train yourself to become a better person and focus on self development so that, again, you become more valuable. And those two questions should have you, it should be an epiphany for you if you're answering them correctly around your personal development practice, your regular introspective practice and the people that you are hanging out with that are actually helping you learn and grow and become better as a leader, as a person in your organization, and someone you can bounce things off of in order to be successful rather than commiserate about the things that you all can't control. All right, so that is the end of today's episode. If you have any questions, as always, wherever you're watching this video, go ahead and leave me a comment. Before I close it out, I want to let you know that we have a new Facebook group for us, the Leading in Healthcare Facebook group. And I go live in there to give you additional, more in-depth trainings like the ones that you're listening to today. But it's also a safe environment that I just started for us to be able to learn these type of things that nobody's teaching us, so that we can learn how to be successful as leaders, but also do it in a way that keeps our well-being, our integrity, our balance at the forefront, so that we're not killing ourselves in the process of leading our teams and our organizations and our companies. All right. So if you want more information about how to join that Facebook group, there should be a link wherever you see this video. Some of you have been reaching out to me and you don't work in healthcare. As you can see, you could take anything that I'm teaching right now and you can apply it to your own business. So please feel free to come and join us. The reason why it's healthcare is just that we have this clinical piece that we all understand, and so we can help solve those unique problems. But it's always good to have people outside of the box help us, because I think that adds an element of creativity where we can bounce ideas off each other and get better. So anyway, been rambling too much. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.